going on, guys? It's Corbin Stuckey at Pixel Talk here. I'm joined by my friend Jordan Mode. Say hey, Jordan.
What up?
All right, and we just saw American Satan Friday night. We haven't had time to do our review. We did a lot of stuff at Universal City Walk. That's where we saw the movie, and we're just now getting this review out there. I wanted to include you in this review because, like, you know, we have like the same taste in music, like alternative, like rock and stuff like that. That's your major, also. That's why you're going to Full Sail as well. And I wanted to see this movie with you.
Yeah, man.
What'd you think of it?
Honestly, out of every rock and roll film I've ever personally seen, I think this is one of the most accurate just depictions of, like, especially in the beginning, of what it's like to have that dream of going for it and, like, going to LA to become a rock star.
Yeah.
Like, from everything from, like, the scenes where you see, like, Andy Biersack, like, working in, you know, a restaurant and, like, living out of the van and, like, having to take showers at, you know, like, roommates and bandmates' houses and stuff, like, that's real. Like, that does happen. And it was just kind of really cool to see that, like, wow, Hollywood gets the modern-day rock star.
It was very real in the beginning. If you guys don't know what the movie's about, basically what he just said, it's about this band. Some of them are American musicians and English musicians that come together. They move to LA, and they're not doing so well at first. And they actually, while they're not doing so well, they come across the devil. And the devil makes a deal with them, and they have to do certain things to pretty much become famous. And there's a lot of Illuminati references in this movie. It was just a really interesting movie for the most part. I think the film, production-wise, it's great.
Absolutely, it's phenomenal. The score, which was written by Rob Zombie and Jonathan Davis of Korn, absolutely insane. They did such a great job. You know, you got what's his face from Palais Royale doing the vocals, even though
even though it's not really the actor who's
Andy
doing
Biersack,
he's not really doing the vocals. That kind of threw me off a little bit, but. I still like the vocals in this.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I really like. Before this movie even came out, I was listening to some of the singles that were coming out in my car. I love alternative rock, and that's one of the things that like really drew me to this movie. I remember like we were watching a lot of the trailers like on Instagram or Facebook. Like this movie was being heavily promoted like online, not really like at the movie theaters or anything like that. Just online on social media. Trailers look kind of questionable. But it was the music that kind of drew us, and music that kind of drew us. But so boy. But yeah, like we just we started listening to these like songs, and we were like, okay, let's check out this movie. And the movie is definitely better than the trailers. I think there are a couple problems, but the film itself, production wise, it's really good. It's actually been winning a lot of awards, like at some. Festivals and stuff. So
one of the coolest things I think about this entire film, which I really heavily relate to, because I kind of do this with projects right now, or one project I'm working with right now, is in the very beginning you see Andy Biersack on like FaceTiming Ben Bruce, who's in England, and they're sitting there writing music while Andy Biersack's writing lyrics and drinking coffee, getting ready to go to go to school. And I'm like, I can relate to that because like that's what I do right now. But like a lot of bands are doing that now. You know, it's like the new modern thing with technology. It's crazy.
It's just easy to record like, vocals and just like use your mic and kind of digitally put that on your computer and just put tracks overlaying each other. And it's just like that's kind of like the new norm is like no matter where you are in the world, you can kind of just like make something. And the same goes for movies. Like Michael Bay, like he talks to his editors like over like basically Skype. Like it's just you don't have to be in the same location. It's just this movie was very real in terms of production and what it's like making music and being part of a band. You don't necessarily have to be together, but in terms of like live performances, you do. And that's what they do is like they move to LA and they start kind of going through problems. And that was one of the most realistic factors of this movie is the problems that they overgo. And I just felt it was really real. I will say like when the devil portion comes into the movie, it's a little bit cliche, but at the same time it's like, okay, this is really interesting.
It was kind of also a fresh take too, because like he starts out as this like Jesus freak tourist guy, and you're like, okay, why is he in this? Even though you've seen the trailers, you kind of get the whole mentality, but like I thought it was really cool when like he finally introduced himself as the devil, and you're just like
oh my god, like he's driving a nice car.
Yeah, what is it? What are they gonna portray here? And then then you have the whole bit with Drake Bell, who's
Drake Bell's in this movie. I was like, what? In terms of like the movie itself, like I said, the production's really well. the one problem that I would say that I had with it was the pacing. I thought things happened like really fast. Like whenever there was like a really important scene, without going into too much spoilers, there's like a human sacrifice scene that they have to do to become famous, and it's such. I felt like that was such an important scene to like do because like it pertains to them and like what they're willing to do become rock stars, and it's so rushed. There's a lot of scenes in this where it's like, okay, let's get the scene out of the way to get to the next scene, and that's kind of like my only problem with it is like the fast pacing of the film. But besides that, I love the songs. And you know what did you think of the actors actually? What did you think of like some of the performances?
It was really cool to see like Ben Bruce and Andy Biersack kind of doing something completely different than what they're used to, which was really cool. I really liked Malcolm McDowell, right? Who was the devil?
I think I think so.
And you had what's his face from Sons of Anarchy, who was the record CEO, which was really cool to see him out of his element too.
Right.
And, like, I think overall they really portrayed being like the main four or five really portrayed being like a band that just gets up in the move. That's why like when you were saying things like this move's really fast paced, I think they kind of captured the idea of how fast fame and fortune can go for bands.
That's true.
Like you think about it, like they were just kind of going with it too. They didn't know what they were running with. And
exactly.
And then you see some of those scenes with like, especially the tour scene when they're getting kicked off tour and like, you guys, this band is like the happening band in the world right now, and then all of a sudden, like they're like getting kicked off a tour because like God knows why, and like they're like, screw you. They take the guitars and start, jamming the RV. Like,
it was also really interesting to see in this movie how much a rock band can affect society. There's a lot of things that they acknowledge in this movie, like how these bands get into certain situations, and it kind of has like an effect on society as a whole. There's mentions of the stand your ground rule, the stand your ground law that's here in America. There is mention of ages of consent in Indiana and stuff like
that. Which is hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yo, that girl, oh man. The news scene, that was hilarious.
Oh man, yeah, there's just like, it was really interesting to see kind of, because that does happen a lot. It's like wherever like you have like this really famous musician, people kind of like grow and go towards that culture. Like they get tattoos of the bands and like they do certain things that are presented by the band. So I thought that was just like another real factor as well. This movie like is kind of half and half for me. There's a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, that's real. That actually happens in like real life, where you have like this really culturally impacting band. Absolutely. And there's a lot of stuff that's a little bit cliche, like the devil and stuff like that.
The mysticism, like especially the scene when they finally, like, I think, what was it, they got an arena tour or something like that, and then they end up at the bass player's old work, and it's like a brothel. Yeah. And just like everything in that whole bit gets like wild and crazy, like they're doing heroin and cocaine, and like it gets a little crazy. Yeah, it gets a little wild, but like I think that's kind of cool because, like, you think about it, you hear about these stories from, like, older rock stars.
Oh,
and, like, nowadays, I feel like the idea of a rock star has changed so much to the modern world, and I think it's kind of nice they're trying to bring back a little bit of that flavor of rebellion to it, which is kind of cool. But, like, it's a touchy subject, I know, but
it is pretty like touchy, but like it had to be touched upon because it does happen like this. There's a lot of acknowledges to rock members from like the 80s and 90s. Yeah. I don't even know if they mentioned like Kurt Cobain or anything like that, but like there were mentions like that where you have like
Angus
these
Young from AC/DC and what was it, Johnny Cash, and
there's a mention of like a certain rock member getting into a car accident and getting scot-free.
Oh, Vince Neil from Motley Crue, and
there's a lot of honesty in this where it's like no matter like who you are, if you're like a really famous rock star, you kind of get away with certain things, and that's like what this band kind of goes through in this film. This movie was pretty honest for the most part. Like
Absolutely.
It's just like I really liked it. Like I said, in terms of the film itself, the pacing is a little off, and I do agree with you. It's like they have to like get from scene to scene and like show like the progression of this band and stuff. And the performances, there's some performances where I was like, okay, especially from the like British people. I thought the British people were like awesome. I was talking to Leah, my girlfriend, and like the British people, you can take like dialogue that is even so bland, and because they're so extravagant, they're able to like, okay, make it work. But with some of the American actors, it's like some of the lines like, oh, you're the love of my life, don't leave me. It's like, what? Like I was just like, that's so corny. And Oh my god! But besides that, this is a very watchable movie. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I just had some problems with it, but like the score, soundtrack, music is like really good in this. I really like the culture of it, and this kind of affected us too because like we go to Full Sail and that's pretty much going to be kind of us. Like not obviously not the heroin part, but we're going to be probably going to LA soon in the future.
Absolutely.
And this was kind of just relatable. It showcased like artists and how I want to say difficult it can be to find a job, especially since LA is a place where everyone goes to get a job. So it was just like, oh, I have that to look forward to. Shit.
I have to admit, the one scene that had me that was really cool, that it was kind of towards the end when the final gigantic show for Hellfest when they're doing it, and the devil decided, he goes, you have to do an onstage sacrifice. I just thought to myself, because I'm a rock and roll nerd. Like,
yeah.
I live and breathe all this. I couldn't imagine going to see a show and seeing this band that, like, you love, like, imagine, like, a crowd of 100,000 people, and they all of a sudden the curtains open, and you're seeing the lead singer with a friggin' revolver against somebody ready to pull the trigger, man. I was like, what a way to open a show. I mean, I get it, like, whoa.
Has that ever happened, like, in real life where, like, maybe somebody committed suicide on stage? Or
There actually was a couple performances I do know of. There was one where a guy tried to do something just like that. They faked a murder on stage.
Okay.
But there was also, you have real murders, like, for instance, like Dimebag Darrell Pantera was shot and killed on stage.
Okay.
There was a bass player at a local nightclub in LA, I think, that was playing and someone shot off a gun and killed him point blank on stage. Like,
Jesus.
I could be wrong on that last one, but Pantera, like Dimebag was definitely, that one hit home because, I mean, if you're a guitar player like I am, I mean, and in the hard rock and metal world, I mean, Dime's such a huge inspiration, But, yeah, like that stuff I mean, it's not common, thank God.
Yeah,
but,
of course, yeah.
It is something that has happened, yeah.
Yeah, like this movie does touch upon, like, every different factor. There's even quotes like in the beginning and end where like the rock stars like acknowledge that this is like a genre of music where I like the certain like line where it's like the devil and God shake hands, and they kind of come to an agreement that even though they're really different beings, they can still make like really good music. I really like that kind of concept of like I guess like I don't know.
It's the compromise of life. Yeah, like rock and roll is where I think it was who was it? I forget his name, but yeah, that was like the first line that comes up on the movie, and I'm like, you sold me. Like this is too cool. Like because like I don't know. I mean, there's been movies that have come out in the past, like The Rocker. There's Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That do kind of hit close points when it comes to like the Rockstar movie. Yeah. But for me personally, this one really hit home because, like, not only is it something that I'm pursuing myself, but, like, you have there's millions of kids out there. And guys who are trying to do this, women too, who are trying to go out and do this as their career. And it's like, I think, especially nowadays, it's kind of cool to see, like, hey, this is what the modern spin is of it. And it was friggin' awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I honestly, like, if this was like on Netflix, I'd watch it again. I'd like to show this to people for sure. I thought it was a really cool interpretation of like the genre and the people around it. I think I'd buy it on Blu-ray. Oh, I'm buying it the day it comes out. Oh yeah, that's what's up, bro. Yeah, man. All right. So, yeah, guys, that was our review of American Satan. Comment down below what you thought of this movie. Actually, you know what? I have to plug Jordan. Jordan is a vocalist and guitarist. He currently goes to Full Sail University, but he always is sending me stuff like through Snapchat, and I've heard his stuff. It's really dope. So I'm going to put his info down in the description below. Guys, check out his stuff. It is awesome, dude. You are going places. You're going to be a rock star, bro. So are you, brother. Thanks, man. Hopefully I can be a film director someday. We're still doing that music video, right? Absolutely. That's coming in 2018. Be on the lookout for that. All right, guys. So, yeah, check out Jordan's stuff, and be sure to subscribe to Pixel Talk, and be sure to click the bell icon to be notified whenever I make a video. I'd really appreciate it. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbin Stuckey. Jordan Mode. And this is Pixel Talk. And we'll be seeing you in LA. Yes, sir. Hopefully. LA. LA. Yeah. I gotta go to LA. I have to. Me too.